Hi and welcome. This is your opportunity to hear some success stories and also have a chance to witness some live coaching. I'm the founder and lead coach at Raising Our Resilience, and we have a couple of folks coming on today that have been with us for a year or 2 years or three. Ale starting on her fourth year actually, and we're so excited to have them because it can be an incredibly valuable part of parent growth and parent development to hear real stories of other folks going through similar things, perhaps, or things that you can relate to as you are, and getting a chance to, hear sort of what they did in order to move through some of the obstacles or sticking points or struggles that are common in parenting, and get a little inspiration about what's possible when you maybe try some of these things as well. And so we have, two guests that are planned to come on. They'll be on just a moment. But I want to give you a little bit of insight into what it is that they've been embarking on, what they've been working on. So these are dedicated parents who at some point came across the opportunity to explore parent mentorship and to see what it would be like just like we send our kids to camp, or teachers get to have their experience in their teacher education programs, and they have mentors and everything. Where are the parenting programs? I've had many parents say, where's my onboarding process? Where's my mentor? Where's my cohort of other folks, right, that are all a part of this? What is going on with these these things? And something that I've noticed is that when we as parents identify that we're ready for mentorship, it can absolutely shift everyday family life. It's incredible what can happen even just from making that commitment, much less actually stepping into a container where you're with other like-minded parents, asking questions with a mentor to guide you along the way and kind of track your goals and keep you accountable. So I'm bringing in a couple of folks who I just so incredibly admire for the way that even when life threw them, obstacles and challenges, they kept showing up to do the work. And you know how this goes. You've probably seen it in like a workplace or on a team or in some setting where tough times come and people persevere anyway. And to me, that's the essence of resilience, is not necessarily just navigating daily life, but what support systems, what tools, and what community do we have in place for when things get hard. And so it's been really such a pleasure to work with these particular parents who are coming on. We have Ale joining us from Texas, and we're getting her on right now, just waiting for her to connect. So Ale, if you can pick one of the profiles you've connected to and unmute so we can get you on and come on camera, and we'll have a chance to really interact with you today. And as she's troubleshooting that, oh, there she is. Hi. How's it going, love?
Good. I'm sorry about that. I had a little trouble connecting.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm going to make sure the volume's working on my side. Hold on one second. There we go. Now I can hear you. Hi, love. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Great. Welcome. I was just explaining about how much it can shift things once you identify as wanting to grow as a parent and stepping into a container of mentorship and that community that builds around a bunch of different folks wanting to improve their parenting and move forward together. And I want to really uplift you today and your successes, and kind of help inspire some folks today around like what's possible. So Ale, maybe you could just let everybody know where you're from, how old your child was when you started, and how old your child is now. And I have a little video clip to share too that I'm going to ask you something about.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Yes, so I'm Ale Velasquez, and I live in Texas, close to Dallas, little suburb above Dallas. And my daughter's name is Eleni. She's 6. She'll be 7 next Tuesday. And we actually joined when she was 3 years old. So at the height of my parenting. Yeah, that was a tricky time.
Makes sense. It's one of those times that I feel like we have done a lot of what we already know to do, but then it's like a time where some things start to stack up and maybe you feel a little stuck. And I do remember that you really became clear that yes, school is going to be important for your child and you're going to do everything you can to provide like a solid education. And that's something that you were really committed to. But then you also said, it's really important that she and I have a great relationship and that
Mhm.
she has the social and emotional skills to navigate life. And you're like, I was so proud of you because when you came to the work, it was like this, finding calm in the chaos, like how to roadmap out of overwhelm, sort of event that drew you in. And then the emotional mastery piece was a big and alive and well, and something you really wanted for your little one. Tell me a little bit more about why specifically social and emotional growth stood out to you. Just to give people some ideas around that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it kind of, I would say like the biggest thing is like as a Montessori teacher, someone who's in the education field, what I've learned to grown to learn is that ultimately that's really like of um at the top really social emotional intelligence, because rather than focusing so much on math, science, language, and all of the other aspects of education, I feel like they have to know how to navigate themselves throughout the world. And not only that, but I wanted to make sure that my relationship with Ella was fostered kindness, respect, and just like all of I wanted us to have a good understanding. A lot of that having to do with me being a solo parent too. Like we're very, very close. So I'm having to play good cop and bad cop all the time. And so with that being said, I didn't want it to like that to put any kind of like dent in our relationship. And I really wanted to focus on that so we could both be happy.
Yeah, makes so much sense to me. And I know, like, I wanted to replay like a little story that we captured, and then hear your thoughts about it. Would that be okay?
Of
Okay.
course.
All right, great. And so I'm kind of looking over here just to cue up the right timing here. But this was when we were just thinking back to like where you started and where you landed, and then there's this like special moment that you shared with us, and I just wanted to make sure we got a chance to hear it. Okay, here we go.
And, give my daughter my best. I went from my beautiful 3.5-year-old screaming and banging on the bathroom door that I locked to hide myself in the closet, to sitting at the dinner table with my now 4.5-year-old, kindly and gently and understandingly passing me a little stress ball to calm myself because she understood where I was at, and we were able to have that language, that communication, and that beautiful, beautiful, peaceful understanding.
So Ellie, tell us more about how, like, what was happening for you in that moment?
Oh, I remember that. I think she had spilt her milk or her water or something. And that was like that is still one of my biggest parent triggers, because like you're trying to keep everything together in order, like somewhat clean and organized. And we had like everything set, and like the milk or the whatever water was spilled like all over the table. And I think immediately in that moment, Ella probably noticed my body language, and where I used to probably like explode or be really upset in that moment, I kind of like I tuned into myself. And in addition to that, I remember there was a stress ball there, and Ella she didn't say anything. She just kindly passed it over to me. And it was like this beautiful, beautiful moment, because she understood that I was having big feelings, that my lid was flipped, and she gave me a coping tool to work through that. So that was so precious. Thank you for sharing that.
I saw your big smile as it was playing.
Yeah.
Now, Ellie, walk us through just a little bit because, I'm sure there are folks listening who are thinking, well, I want to get my child to the place where they can recognize like we use this metaphor, the lid is flipping. that their lid is flipping or someone else's lid is flipping, that they have coping tools, like, walk us through a few things that you learned or like experiences you had that got you and Ella to that place where you had that beautiful understanding, because it's quite a contrast to locking yourself in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So like help us understand a few things you did in between that really got you there to that point.
Yeah. Well, for one, we ended up making our designated calm down corner early in the beginning, which kind of doubled as her reading nook. But then also, I think throughout the course of time, there were little moments where, like, as we added things to our calm down corner, or maybe just like in passing, we'd come across like a stress ball or like blowing bubbles, um, dancing, or like even like this other tool wherever you kind of like squeeze and release when you're really, really frustrated. And I think what was helpful is just to kind of model that for myself too. And one thing I remember hearing too from Dr. Luz along the way, she said she shared a story similar to that where she locked herself in the closet in a bathroom or something, and her kids were outside the door. And I remember her saying that she told her children, like, right now I'm really upset and I want to give you my best. So I'm going to go away for a minute so that I can come back and give you my best. And it was like hearing that out loud. And so, like, respectfully to the kids, I was like, oh, okay. So it's okay to have to leave and have to take a moment and like have to work through those feelings. And so I think that was really helpful. But more than anything, just being open and honest about our feelings, because we're human too. But in addition to that, modeling some of those like techniques or coping tools to calm down. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I think one of the tools that stood out to me that we teach in the Raising Our Resilience space is around the power of modeling and how much like showing and telling is good too. But, if we just tell, but we're not really modeling and showing the behavior we're seeking, then oftentimes the kids don't get the full picture of what it looks like to do things like manage your own emotions when they come up so that you can have a more reasonable conversation or reaction, those kinds of things. So that modeling piece, Ali, I've seen you really step into. And I'm imagining that this whole like, here, mama, is something she's received from you too. She's like, having your hand coming towards her was something that's helpful. What a great like relationship you can have where you're recognizing each other's needs and helping each other. That's wonderful.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, Ali, like, so what's up for and alive for you right now? I know that you've now completed 3 years of mentorship in the, Raising Our Resilience world in the Family Foundation's immersion. You've come to several of our live events, flown all the way from Texas to California. But there's like the work is kind of never done. Like I see you empowered, you and your child are in this really good groove overall, got all these tools. Like what keeps you coming back for more development, and how can I support you today? We're going to do just a little live coaching. So it's like a hard question.
Well, I think definitely even like in the second year, which was, shortly after the first, like as Ella grows, I feel like her needs don't necessarily change drastically, but they do shift. So it's kind of like as she's growing, I'm also growing as a parent, and just having Raising Our Resilience has been a huge support to kind of revisit some of the things I've learned. But it's like every time that I revisit, it's always through a different lens. Whereas one time when we did like the emotional coaching or the emotional mastery when she was 3, that was like a lot of big, high emotions, like, temper tantrums and all of that. And now we're here like at soon to be 7, and it doesn't look like that anymore. But there's still things that I'm new to in navigating, for instance, like in the way that she's evolving and becoming a big girl. She's like not so little anymore. And so it's just kind of like revisiting those same tools, refining them, but also like having the chance to see them through this new phase of parenting, for sure. So that's definitely what keeps me coming back.
Yeah, it makes sense to have, and I think there's this piece that we talked about after your first year, like, well, I don't feel like my work is done. Like I'm the developing human. And so I want to continue and I don't want to have to start over with somebody new. So if there's this opportunity to continue in with the same community and build upon what you've already made, like you've already learned, like why wouldn't you? You know, I love staying with my mentors for at least 3 years personally for that reason, especially if I've made great progress. It's like, wow, what else is possible here? This is fun. Um, I guess one more question about that. Is there anything that stands out to you about like getting to step into leadership work? Because we do have this additional leadership and legacy kind of aspect that we bring in for our second year, third year, and fourth year students. And you know, we've done some generational reflection and things like that. Is there anything there that's been informing you lately?
Well, yes, and then again, similar in the sense like being that I've tried the tools and like have it just kind of refortifies the things that I've already learned, but also I feel like whenever you can share, it's also very whenever you're able to share and help, it's very fortifying for what you already know. And so it's kind of like refining the tool, but also like seeing the effects of them, even for like people using them the first time and like understanding that like these techniques really work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, beautiful, nice. I've seen you also like stepping into like this like a more like identity based like work where you're like, what would a punctual person do, or what would
But
an
yeah.
organized person do? And then organized and got things together. And like, if you don't mind sharing, you know, what are like one or two things that you feel like have really come from that more empowered leadership place that maybe wasn't captured in the video, you know, that I don't want to speak for you, but I know you've had some wins lately, like
Oh
as
yeah.
a solo parent, teacher,
Hmm.
pulling off some pretty important things, some big life steps.
Yeah. Well, I think for one, just like being very like consistent, like if we managed to like move, I had the set goal to like after leaving my previous apartment, moving into a place that we owned. And so I was able to accomplish that. And that was a huge win. Um, because I mean, that was a really hard, like muscle building decision and process. So that was a huge one. And I feel like I had to be punctual, I had to be organized, I had to get like all of my ducks in a row to make that happen. And I did it. And then at the same time, like that was a big transition for Ella. And we were able to manage that shift like very like seamlessly. Like we lived with my mom for like 6 months. And of course, Ella loved being there, but she had to let go of her bedroom. She had to let go of all her toys. Everything was in our garage, and so like I feel like having all of those tools was super beneficial because I kind of knew how to navigate that chaos. And
Yeah,
a lot of that came from being open with Ella to explaining the processes to her. We have built that connection, and also just kind of like modeling similarly, like even when I was frustrated through that process, I'd be open with her. And she's so sweet. She's always my number one cheerleader and support. So that was really helpful. I'd say that's like the biggest shift win. And then in a more smaller scale, like once we moved into our new place, toys were a big issue, of course, because we consolidated from like her having her own room to like downsizing in a sense. We just consolidated our space. And so we managed to make her keep her calm down corner, which is kind of like doubles as our living area or living room, which then in turn is my calm down corner too. And then in addition to that, all of the toys, like we did away with what we didn't need anymore, but I've organized so beautifully in one closet, and it's really my pride and joy because it's so neat. Like even Eleni said, she's like, Mama, now I know where I can put my stuff. And that's been really wonderful. So.
yeah, absolutely. And like when you enact like something in the physical environment to represent, like your intention, right? And your sense of identity, like I'm an organized person, and like, look at this toy closet. You can see it. And then even your
Yeah.
daughter reflecting it back to you, like what a satisfying sort of loop to close there. That's like very real that she gets to experience all the time. That's awesome. Um, and then, and I remember us having one-on-one sessions during that year leading up to like the 6 months leading up to that, where we were talking through. And I think one thing that stood out to me that you just said that I want to make sure everybody heard is that you were really open with her, like with Ella around the process. And a lot of what we end up, one of the, the main tools we work on are things like how to have those conversations where you preview and you gather input and you create a plan together. And she has a sense of where she can influence things and where she might need to be like, adjusting and accepting, rather than just sort of putting her in the circumstance and seeing how she handles it. You like really prepared her, took that time and put that intention into it. And I think it really paid back in, 3, 4, 5 fold, all those efforts. So that's really great.
Yeah.
Lucky girl.
And can I add something to that? As you were talking, it reminded me, like, I think too, as a result, she built a lot. I mean, she's a confident girl, but like, I think too, it's built her confidence and ownership of the move too, because yesterday she told me it was like asking her suggestion on something. And she told me, she's like, Mama, I live here too. And it's important that I have a say of how things look as well. Like as far as like design goes and everything. And I was like, you are absolutely right, girl. She's like, it can't just always be what you like, Mama. I was like, you're right. And it was a real like genuine one-on-one, like heart-to-heart conversation, like, because she's right. And so that was really wonderful to see her confidence just like radiating through that.
Really. She's so powerful. She always has been, right? With, like you mentioned, tantrums and big emotions and things like that. And I remember us talking early on in the work, like, how do we, like, I love these spicy kids, like bring them, like bring me this. And because they have so much power and strength and passion, and it's just about helping them navigate all of that and put it to good. And I think this is a great example of her just like having this empowered, confident voice. It's also very constructive. She's not sort of putting down or, demand. She's just like informing you, Mama, remember how things work, okay?
Yeah, I live here too.
I live here too, let's be clear.
I love that, yeah.
A heartfelt place, yeah. So what an empowered voice she has. That's lovely. So, and then Ella, last question is around, that I had mentioned was, what's up for you right now that maybe I could coach you on for a few minutes, just so folks can get a little peek into what that's like to have a mentor support you today.
Of course. On the way here, I was thinking we have a whole week off, and I noticed too I've been a lot more intentional about my downtime. Which, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a solo mom, so my time of not doing anything is very constricted. But as far as like downtime goes and time off, I think I need a little bit of coaching around like just like kind of getting creative on how to be more intentional with that downtime and doing fun things with Eleni, but that don't necessarily always involve screen times or like going to the movies, because that's like one thing we love to do, but I find myself like kind of like we're always doing that. So kind of like opening that horizon to do fun and present things, but that might be budget friendly and not have to like, so kind of like brainstorming around that, and also like engaging her and so forth, because I feel like that's kind of at the forefront right now with like summer and everything and having a little bit more free time.
I love this question. This reminds me a little bit of what we were kind of exploring together for the summer success session, that bonus training that we did recently. What do you think, Ellie, about sharing with folks the boredom list of like how to break, how to some boredom busters? You think that might be useful for folks and for you too? Yeah. Okay. And then what I'm going to challenge you to do, this is where I get coachy, everybody, is to read through this list and pick 2 or 3 things that you think would meet what you're asking. So like, maybe the same result as going on a really big excursion where you spend a bunch of money and all this stuff, but like same result, but less money, right? So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
um,
Mhm.
same result as like having a shared experience of watching a movie or watching TV or something where you're like maybe feeling close and getting to share an experience, but like off the screen, right? So
Yep.
same result, less screen time. As Coach Amani would say, same result, less something.
Yeah.
So let's put this list up and read through it and see what pops for you.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Catch
So
firefly. Oh, should I read it out loud? Sorry.
yeah, go for it. And then we can see which ones pop out.
Okay. Catch fireflies in a jar. Try outdoor mini golf. Take a hike in a state park. Eat ice cream cones. Watch an outdoor movie. Build a sandcastle. Visit a splash pad or swimming pool. Go to a parade. Have a picnic at the park. That sounds good. Check out a zoo or aquarium. Splash in mud puddles. Visit your local library. See a baseball game. Watch a fireworks show. Make s'mores. Have a water balloon fight. Fly a kite. And visit or donate to us. Oh, that would be fun, to an animal shelter. I like that. So, okay. And what stands out for me that's out of the norm that I think would be really fun for Ella is I think it might be kind of cool to go to an animal shelter. I never thought of that.
Mhm.
To
Yeah.
donate, and yeah, I think that would be really, really good. Um, and flying a kite. She wants to do that.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
And then
Those are
if you mentioned something about the picnic one too at the end, you're like, ooh, I like that one too.
yeah, no, I like that as well. Actually, I think that would be really fun, and it might be even kind of fun for Ella to like prepare the picnic with me because
Yeah.
she's super into cooking.
So this is how coaching works, right? We're going to build off of past successes and carry them forward. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's look at, involving her in in giving her heads up and having her be a little like she's saying, I should be able to influence how things go. So I'm thinking that the picnic one, having her, like you said, come up with some of the recipes or, help prepare the food. And she's also showing like intrinsic motivation and authentic interest, right, in food preparation. So yeah, that seems like a nice low hanging one where you could, pull a few things together and then visualize this picnic together and then go do it. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. How might she be involved in the kite one? You said she's been interested in that.
Hmm. I wonder if maybe we could even like look at how we could possibly make a kite, or even if we could just buy a kite, but then um add our own little flair to it. Because I'm thinking like the rope part might be kind of tricky if we were trying to make it ourselves. I'm sure Amazon probably sells that though. But
Just that
maybe,
part. Yeah.
yeah, maybe more easily we could just like buy our own kite, and then she could decorate it and maybe add some streamers,
Ooh, yeah.
that sort of thing. That
Mhm.
might be kind of fun for her because I know she's a very creative girl, and anytime she can add her flair to things, she's very proud. So
And if you wanted to bring in a little science and math, you could like maybe cut different lengths of streamers and put them on and see if it changes the way it flies or something like that.
ooh, yeah,
With that,
yeah.
it'd be really fun. The other thing that could be fun science wise is once a teacher, always a teacher. Might be like help getting into a little bit of a habit of checking the weather where you can see what the wind is doing,
Mhm.
just to get
Yeah,
about, oh, is it going to be a really hot day, or like what time of day will be the windiest? What else will we need to bring with us, right? To feel really comfortable while we're out, things like that. So
yeah. Great point. I wouldn't have thought about the weather, but that's really great. That's good. Yeah,
particularly
I
with
like
kite
that.
flying. Yeah, the wind is pretty important. Because if there's none, there won't be much, action, wind
Yep,
action. And then the animal shelter, does she love animals? Is that like a natural interest of hers?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. If it was up to Ella, we'd happily live on a farm.
great. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times a pro tip I have of that, because I've brought children to animal shelters many times before, my own, and then a field trip or two, would be to call ahead about what donations they accept, what they need the most right now, and it might surprise you. Like I've had one time where they said we really need people's like old towels that they're not using, because it just helps them with like the pens they need to like change the laundry out a lot, and they need more because they
Yeah.
wear it after a while or something. So I was like, I would have thought like toys and food, but they were like, no, we have enough toys and food, just bring towels. So
That's really great.
that could be
Yeah.
like a fun call. She could be on the call too, and here with
Mhm.
Renee and get connected. That could be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's fun. As she gets older, I feel like even like the possibilities of like incorporating her into things is a lot more fun. Like
Yes.
now that she's done it. Yeah, totally. I like that a lot.
And then last but not least, on the pet one, the shelter, sometimes they're more set up for visitors on adoption days, just because they're already expecting it and they have extra volunteers. So we can look into like the timing too, and talk to her about why it might be better to go a certain day versus another day. And she'll get to see more animals, and meet more of the volunteers, spend more time there, usually on adoption days. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. And then, preparing her for like, you're going to see a lot of different animals. They're not all the same, like a litter of puppies, right? It's like there are some older dogs, some younger dogs, some big dogs, some small dogs, and kittens and cats and everything. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Oh, Ale, great. Yes. And it is like, I feel like the takeaway that I want those who are listening to this to really hear, that Ali is tuning in like this big piece. And of course, I want to hear what yours is too. Like what stood out about Ali's story? Like those of you who are listening, like put it in the comments, put it in the chat. She's in our group, so she'll see them. So just if you want to give her any shout outs, please do. But the other thing is I'm watching you do a really smart thing. So on average, parents will lag behind their kids' developmental needs in terms of their parenting. They'll like aim a little too young, between 6 and 2 years too young. 6 months and 2 years too young. So if you have a 7-year-old, you might be parenting them like they're a 6.5 all the way down to a 5-year-old. Because why? They keep growing and we try to catch up, right? And Ali, I feel like one thing that really stood out to me today about you and about how we're able to talk about Ella now is that she is entering a different plane of development, and you're keeping up with her. And that's a big deal. And we'll keep doing this for you in this next year of mentorship. Ali just signed up for her 4th year and as a legacy member of our Family Foundations Immersion. Otherwise, she's on today. So we can like showcase all that you've learned, and we can learn from your wisdom. And we're going to be keeping an eye on that prize, on that level, on meeting her. And so hearing you say like, it's so fun now that she's older, she can be involved differently. We can get into these conversations more. We can look at the science, we can do the research. That's exactly you meeting her. And it's a big deal. So congratulations for being in this new stage with her. It's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Ali, is there one last thing you'd like to share with folks who are maybe warming up to mentorship in their lives, having a community and, joining a program, having a mentor? Is there anything you want them
Yeah.
to from you being on the other side of 3 years of it now?
Well, I feel like I've said this before and I really, truly cannot say it enough. But ultimately, this is a lifetime investment, especially for those of us, who are entering with like young children or at any stage. I feel strongly that this is a great investment for the most critical years of your child's life, when you want to make like those very strong connections. It's never too late, but I mean, most importantly, like as soon as you can, to really like invest into that holistic experience of parenting. And I strongly feel that raising our resilience is a critical part of that, having that support and just like that wealth of collective thought and love that comes with it. So that would be my last 2 cents for sure.
Thank you, Ellie. So great to have you on today and get to hear your stories, and just so proud of you and excited for what's ahead. And yeah, what a wonderful opportunity to have you on. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Vanessa.
So much love to you and to everybody listening. We'll see you next
Bye.
time. All right. Take care. Bye.
See you.